Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is shave. Let's take a moment to look at some of the definitions or the ways that we use this verb. The first way you are likely to hear shave used is to mean to cut hair off some part of one's body using a razor. Now, for most people, when they picture this, they might picture a man removing hair from his face, but other people shave or remove hair from other parts of their body, and women do it as well. So maybe not in all cultures, but certainly in some, you'll see people do this either because they think it looks good or might provide some sort of benefit in some way to them. A second way you'll hear shave used is to mean to cut a thin slice from the surface of something. Sometimes with woodworking. So people who create things from wood, could be tables, desks, chairs, etc. They will take off thin layers in order to make their product. And so you might hear this verb used there. Sometimes you'll hear it, though, with food as well. People will shave very thin slices of some vegetables or even meat, as an example. A third way you'll hear the verb shave used is to mean to remove or reduce by a small amount. Okay. So with this third definition, my mind immediately goes to athletes. I used to be a runner, now I'm a swimmer, and I'm always looking to get a little bit faster. I want to shave a few seconds off my times in certain events, right? So I want to reduce, and which gets harder as I get older. But that's one of the goals you'll hear many athletes say. So removing or reducing by a small amount. And that can apply to other situations, not just sports. I thought that example might be helpful. A fourth way you'll hear shave used is to mean to pass close to something else, missing it narrowly. Okay, so again, I do really enjoy sports, so sometimes I've heard sportscasters, announcers say things like, that ball shaved the edge of the goal, right? So it passed very close, it missed it, the ball did not go into the goal, but that's to give you that idea that just barely missed. Okay. Sometimes you'll hear that used to describe different accidents or near misses, where something came so close and just misses something by the smallest of margins. A fifth way you might encounter this verb, shave, is in connection to really an illegal action. It's in connection to betting, and it's where somebody, typically, this relates to sports betting, so people gambling, is this team going to win? If so, by how many points? But someone is making a plan to intentionally or purposefully score less in order to affect those gambling outcomes. There have been some kind of famous instances of this in history. It can be a really big deal when it is discovered. Many people are kind of shocked. They're disappointed. Sometimes they are kicked out of the sports. They're not allowed to continue playing because they're not being honest and they're not competing in a fair way. You should know that shave is a regular verb. To make the progressive form of this verb, I'm going to drop the E because I have a vowel consonant E word here. I'm going to drop the E before I add ing to form shaving. The past tense and participle forms of this verb could be made just by adding D, since our verb already ends in an E. Our base verb, shave, ends in a V sound, and V sounds are always voiced. This means our past tense ending is just going to make a D sound. So it should sound like this: shaved, shaved. Okay. Now, I just have one phrasal verb to discuss. It's not all that different, but you might encounter someone who uses the phrasal verb to shave off. Generally, many people are really wanting to stress that someone is completely removing all the hair from some part of their body, oftentimes with a razor. An example of this might be, my husband grows a beard every winter and then he shaves it off in the spring. This is a true statement. So we live in a really cold climate. So for warmth, my husband grows out the hair that grows on his face. And then as soon as it gets warm, all of that hair is gone. And he stays pretty clean shaven throughout the warmer months. And then again, as it turns colder, he lets his hair grow more. Now let's continue using our verb of the day, shave, in a couple different verb tenses. Today we're going to practice the past progressive, also known as the past continuous, and the simple future using be going to. Let's start with the past progressive. We use this verb tense to note that a particular action was ongoing during some period of time, or that an action was in progress when it was interrupted by another action. I like calling this verb tense the past progressive because the two P's here help me remember that I need two parts to the verb. I'm going to use a past form of be. So if my subject is I, he, she, or it, I'll use was. And if my subject is you, we, or they, I'm going to use were. Okay, so part one, was or were. Then I use the ing form of the verb. Let's take a look at an affirmative example. He was shaving in his dressing room when the director barged in. Okay, so this is one of those actions where we have something ongoing and something else interrupts it. Okay, so we might imagine maybe this is an actor, a performer of some kind, right? This person is in his dressing room. He's in the process of shaving, right? That action is ongoing. And then it gets interrupted when the director just kind of enters the room, barges in. So that's what's being described there. Now, if you want to make a negative past progressive sentence, again, we start with our subject, then was or were, but then you're going to use not before you use the ing form of the verb. Here's another example. They weren't shaving and were barely eating when they were sick. Okay, so here is an action that wasn't continuing during this period of time. Maybe we're talking about some people who had the flu or had COVID and were just too tired and not feeling well enough to engage in this action. Lastly, let's look at making a yes or no question in the past progressive. To do this, I start with was or were, then I have my subject, then the ing form of the verb. Here's another example. Was she shaving the new wooden table by hand? Okay, so there's that removing a thin layer of something. I think that was our second definition we talked about earlier. And there are different tools one can use to kind of remove small, thin layers. Okay, now let's move on and talk about the simple future. Today, we're going to focus on using be going to. This is most common as people are talking about their plans, things they're anticipating doing in the future. Okay? As they become a little more concrete or certain, we'll certainly hear this be going to. You might hear some people use it with predictions, a little less common, but still may encounter that. When I make sentences in the simple future using be going to, I need to pay attention to my subject. And the reason that is important is my form of be is going to change. So I'm using a present form of be. So that could be am, is, or are. in these sentences. So we're going to see subject, a present form of be, then going to, and then the base verb. Let's take a look at an affirmative example. The women are going to shave their heads in solidarity with their friend who is battling cancer. So maybe you've met someone who's undergoing cancer treatment. Many times chemotherapy can result in someone losing their hair. So here we're describing maybe a close group of friends. One woman is undergoing this treatment. She's losing her hair, so her other friends make a plan. We're going to remove our hair too to kind of show you we support you, and maybe this will kind of lift your spirits, right? That's what that sentence is describing. Now let's look at a negative simple future sentence. To do this, I start with my subject, I use the present form of be that matches, then not, then going to, and the base verb. Here's another example. The athlete isn't going to shave any time by training so little. Okay, so here someone might be suggesting, maybe it's a coach, right, that you're not, or this athlete, I should say, this athlete is not going to get faster, right? So we're talking to reduce by a little amount. Finally, let's look at making a yes or no question in the simple future. To do this, we start with our form of be. We match the form to the subject comes next. Then we use going to and the base verb. Here's the last example. Are you going to shave more slices of meat before the party? Now, that idea or question might sound a little different, a little odd, but I thought it might be helpful to kind of show you a picture of what many people picture when they hear that phrase. So you might think of a deli and specifically a cutter is a machine that's going to make those very thin slices. So here someone's might be suggesting we haven't prepared enough. Okay. Now, let's spend a moment looking at some words that are related to our verb shave. And the first word we're going to look at is just the noun form of this word. So it has the same spelling, it has the exact same pronunciation, and when I use shave as a noun, I'm really just referring to the action of shaving hair or removing hair from some part of one's body. An example of this might be, good grief, he needs a shave. And that article there, a, is helping me know that's being used as a noun there. You could also see the verb needs. That's another signal as well. So he needs to engage in this action of shaving. That's what that sentence is suggesting. Another noun you might encounter is shaver. Many times this is used to talk about an electric razor. And I've got a picture in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, just so you have an image, a picture to go with. So someone might ask, did you pack your shaver? And other people will use electric razor, has the same meaning, but so that you're aware of another way to refer to those objects. The last word I'm going to leave us with today is the adjective shaven. Okay, so slightly different spelling there, S-H-A-V-E-N, still making a long A sound there. How you might hear this used is generally in that phrase clean shaven, meaning all the hair removed from some part of the body. An example of this might be, the company prefers that men be clean shaven. Sometimes this is part of a dress code. There are certain companies could be for safety reasons, but sometimes it's more of like a style preference. They don't want mustaches, beards, or other facial hair. Now, I think more companies are getting more relaxed about workers' appearance, so things are changing, but you might encounter, or you may even work for a company that has a policy like this. Thanks so much for watching today's video. I hope you have a great day.